Nintendo gearing up to launch a brand new console again has to be one of the scariest moments for the company, after coming off such an amazing high with the last 8 years of Nintendo Switch, but a really low with the Wii U the years before it. Once again, Nintendo finds themselves in a position of getting ready to enter a new era of Nintendo. But will it be a good era like the Switch or a bad era like the Wii U? It's impossible to say, but of course, if Nintendo is moving on to another Switch-like console, which they have already acknowledged, how is Nintendo to avoid a similar situation like the transition from the Wii to the Wii U? Well, today I have 12 things that I believe Nintendo needs to do to make sure that the Nintendo Switch 2 is everything but a failure. But first, I want to thank today's sponsor, Talki. Talki is an AI social network that allows you to chat with tons of various different virtual characters. And you can make the dialogue as interesting or engaging or dynamic as possible. These conversations can be very deep. The visuals and art style of the characters that you create can also be dynamically changed depending on how you want the character to look. And it even has dynamic audio so that way you can hear the voice of the character that you created. And if I had to keep it real, I thought it was something that was definitely not for me. But after giving it a try with 3 different avatars I was able to create, I actually had some really funny moments, and I'll share some of them with you. Like I previously said, you're in control of this conversation, meaning you create the character, their voice, their attitude, their personality, pretty much everything. But here's some of my conversations. I had me a conversation with Mario himself, asking him about his brand new open world 3D Mario game coming out soon.
Yeah, you'll be able to explore the whole Mushroom Kingdom and do anything you want. I'm even adding a multiplayer mode so you can play with your friends.
I then talked to Link from a future Zelda game coming out all about aliens.
The game takes place on a distant planet, and there are all kinds of strange creatures there.
And apparently the main villain is some alien that actually corrupted Ganon and turned him into an alien as well, and it all takes place on a distant planet. Pretty strange. The third conversation I had was with a new character named Wardo the Wizard from an upcoming Luigi's Mansion 4 game.
The vacuum is the key to capturing the ghosts. You'll need to use your magic to weaken them, and then you can suck them up with the vacuum.
But if you want to create your own conversations and AI characters to talk to, download the Talki app with the link in the description down below for free. Yep, it's all completely free. And I want to give a big thanks to Talki for sponsoring today's video. The first thing that the console needs to do is to be actually new. It needs to differentiate itself enough from the original Nintendo Switch so that people don't start thinking that this is just like a Switch Pro that they don't need. Especially after PS5 just announced the PS5 Pro, if this thing comes out and it's just the Switch Pro to a lot of people, they're not going to care about it. Very similar to how a lot of people thought that the Wii U could have just been a Wii Pro. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we did get some leaked images of the console, and it did look like it was turning out to be true, at least to a lot of insiders that said that their information matched up. Some fan mock-ups of the console actually looks to be relatively the same, with some bigger and rounder Joy-Cons, some extra buttons on the Joy-Con, and obviously a bigger screen altogether. The console's just like a bigger version of the Switch OLED. As I do believe this is exactly what fans want, including myself, the console needs to also appeal to non-fans, and maybe people who never really gamed until the Nintendo Switch. They need a reason to why they need to buy this new Switch instead of keep their old one. So where a part of me really does hope that the Switch 2 is just a better version of the Switch that we already have, I also hope there's a couple things that we may not know or that may not have leaked that actually show the console actually being something different. And speaking of console leaks, number 2, Nintendo needs to reveal this thing. Yes, I know Nintendo technically said until the end of the fiscal year, which gives us all the way up until March 31st of 2025, but that is a very long time, and Nintendo's already acknowledged the existence of this thing back in May, and I feel like the longer Nintendo waits, the more things get leaked, and the more misconceptions people start forming about the console. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. There's leaks that are flying around out there apparently of production and everything. Nintendo needs to get on top of this and reveal the thing, I believe, before the month of October is over, because if they don't, it looks like we might have to wait until next year, because they probably don't want to mess with their holiday sales, which is going to be a bad look. Nintendo cannot afford to wait until the beginning of next year, especially with leaks coming out as early as now. I really do believe they need to reveal this thing in the month of October at the very latest. Of course, when it comes down to Nintendo revealing the console, they had to do so in some big ways. Now, Nintendo did already state that they were going to be giving us little batches of information, it seems, or at least segments of new information for the console. So we could probably expect something similar to the original Switch, but Nintendo definitely needs to have some presentations to get people excited. Nothing goofy or quirky, just something that's straight to the point. Maybe our first reveal of the console is something something along the lines of the original Switch reveal, just showing us a trailer of people using it and playing some new games on it, giving us some glimpses and some insights as to what we could be playing on the console as well. Or maybe Nintendo changes it up and just does a mini presentation off the bat, kind of like they did with their January presentation. But nevertheless, some sort of presentation is definitely needed in my opinion. I don't even think a normal Nintendo Direct is enough to really get people super hyped for this thing. They need to let people know that this is a big deal. This is more than worthy of a Nintendo Direct. This needs its own presentation, or maybe its own theme Direct, something to really indicate that this is a big deal from Nintendo. Now thankfully, if we ever do end up getting a big presentation like this, Nintendo normally announces something like this far in advance to get people excited and people ready to attend the show, like investors and stuff, so we would be hearing about this probably about a month before it actually aired. Now a big brand new console reveal is nothing without its games. You can already see all the memes online about the PS5 having no games and stuff like that. Oh, a brand new Pro version to play no games on? Yeah, it's all over the internet, and Nintendo definitely doesn't want to have a situation like this. They cannot afford to come out and say, hey, this is the Breath of the Wild remake, or hey, this is Super Mario Odyssey's remake, or something along those lines. They need to come out the gate with a very strong title, and with the rumors suggesting that it's going to be a big open world 3D Mario game, or maybe even the next Mario Kart, and perhaps both of them launching in the same year, that would definitely be enough to do it. And even just showing other things like Metroid Prime 4 Beyond would be very huge, but just showing what people could be playing on this new console and why that's so important. Now, it's hard to believe any rumor nowadays, but there were some popping up suggesting that the launch title that was planned for Switch 2 has actually been pushed back and it won't be there day one, which seems to be a main title that we would know and expect. I really could not see after 8 years Switch 2 launching without a big Mario game of any sort. I mean, no Mario Kart or no 3D Mario will definitely hurt its sales. Even if it's coming a couple of months later, I think people will be very, very turned off and probably not even want the console if there's nothing new to play day one. And speaking of these new games, as a quick one, they have to have console-specific games. And by this, I mean, I know eventually I think Nintendo will go ahead and just have nothing but Switch 2 titles releasing, but you know Nintendo likes to do cross-releases for a while and maybe carry past consoles on longer than they need to. Remember the 3DS going on as long as it did, and a lot of the games coming out for the 3DS were just not selling well at all because there was a bigger and better new console out. So if they do have any crossover games with Switch and Switch 2, hopefully it's just like day one and maybe a couple of months after that, but it really shouldn't go into years after because a lot of people were just going to continue playing on their Nintendo Switches and not even bother with the Switch 2. I know Nintendo doesn't want to just jump up and abandon the Nintendo Switch fan base and just go straight to Switch 2, but at the same time you want to make sure that you're getting people interested in that new console and giving people reasons to buy that new console, more than just, oh, this console is powerful, because a lot of people are just going to save their $400 and just continue to play on the current console. The Nintendo Switch 2 needs power. Look, it's just an ongoing thing that every time there's a new console, everyone always looks at Nintendo and says, man, they're a generation behind. And it looks like, of course, it's going to be a generation behind again, because a lot of people are claiming that it's going to be as powerful as the PS4 and the Xbox One. But that is finally not a bad thing, because finally that is really, really good for Nintendo games and for a portable / home console as well. Just a smooth 60 frames per second at 1080 or higher is perfect, and it should be easily obtainable with this new console, and it's probably the thing that I'm worried about the least. I feel like Nintendo finally has this part covered, and we should be getting games running at a lot better frame rates and a lot higher graphics, which is awesome, but once again, it's a Nintendo game, so I can care less. They're all pretty much cartoony, so it's not going to be a make or break for a lot of people. But at the same time, I'm really hoping that Nintendo's games actually take advantage of this stronger hardware as well, giving us some things that we have never seen in Nintendo games before. Next up, we need way better online. Nintendo's online still is so many years behind what it needs to be. We still don't have proper parties where we can just invite friends and talk in a party together as we're all playing different games or maybe the same game. Just inviting friends to a game sometimes is so weird, unless you're playing like Mario Golf Super Rush. For some reason it's perfect. There's like an actual invite thing. Why? But any other game, it's like impossible to do basic things, and it just needs to be revamped. Especially if we're paying money for an online service, there needs to be more incentive incentives that are better incentives as well. Yes, the Nintendo Switch Online catalog of games is okay, but still could be a lot better. So I hope Nintendo takes some steps to really just modernize their online. They don't have to be original and unique with everything. Just please copy what's out there already and just make the same thing like Xbox and PlayStation gives us with party invites and sins and stuff like that. Even achievements. You know what? Throw in achievements in there. Just throw in more things that we can do with our online membership. While we're on the topic of online, Nintendo, please just completely revamp the eShop. Just break it down, destroy it, blow it up, and redo it all over again because it is just abysmal on the Switch. It lags, it's slow, it's like an old classic web page back in the day at a computer in a library that just won't load up. It is just clunky and weird and is chock full of shovelware and just trash games that any developer can just slap onto the console. Some things that just blow my mind that's on there that I can't even show you in this video. Yeah, it needs a complete fixing. I don't know what Nintendo was doing. Maybe there was just something that they didn't care too much about when going with the Switch, but now they need to. The whole eShop needs revamped. It needs music for one. It needs cleaner UI, easier to navigate. That's not like navigating on a Nokia phone trying to get online. Like, please, Nintendo, fix the eShop. Something else the Nintendo Switch actually needs in the Switch's UI itself is just that, better UI. It needs to be more customizable options for our consoles. How do we still not have themes? And there's even a theme tab with only black and white still on the original Switch. Once again, it feels like some things were just not fully realized on the Switch, like the eShop and the theming system, but hopefully that's fixed with Switch 2. Music and game-specific themes like we could on the 3DS, I wouldn't even mind paying a super small fee, like $1 for a theme or something like that on the eShop, but just better ways for the console to look nicer, newer, and cleaner. Going back to the console itself for a second, I feel like one of the big things that a lot of people want are better Joy-Con. If we're paying so much money, almost $100 for a new pair of controllers, they better work. We shouldn't be having Joy-Con drift, we shouldn't be having just problems with the buttons getting stuck or something like that, or just them just not being that comfortable, you know what I mean? Where they're still very small controllers and very hard to press the buttons, but I can say these leaked images and models and even the files of the console are true. They're looking to be completely fixed. The Joy-Con look a lot bigger, the SL and SR buttons are also a lot bigger on the sides, and also the trigger buttons have been bigger with even additional trigger buttons added to the back. They seem to be greatly improved, even more curvature in nature to better fit in our palms. So if these are anything to go by, it looks like Nintendo will definitely be successful on the controllers. Not to mention, apparently it's going to be even easier to attach them and detach them instead of sliding them into a rail system. They will be magnetic rails where we can just snap them onto the side of the console, which is so much better in my opinion. Switch 2 needs to be marked at a reasonable price, not a crazy $700 PS5 Pro. Yeah, I'm throwing some shade. But yeah, something that people are actually going to be willing to buy, willing to pay for. And right now, it looks like the rumors are suggesting around $400 to $450, which in my opinion is perfect for something like a Switch 2. With the current Switch being priced at $300 and the OLED at $350, I really don't see how Nintendo's going to mess this one up. I really hope they don't. I hope that I didn't just jinx them. But if they stay within that $400, $450 price range, I think that will be a perfect deal for them. Last but not least, they need strong marketing. One of the biggest reasons the Wii U failed was because the marketing was so terrible. For one, they didn't really convey what the console was, and for two, they didn't get the console's name out there really. There weren't some big trailers or ads anywhere or really commercials going around showing the thing, and really no other company was really on board with the console, so it really didn't get around as much as Nintendo would have hoped. To circle back, a lot of that also has to deal with the fact that Nintendo needs to start their marketing push, I believe, very soon. So hopefully Nintendo decides to actually unveil this thing and show us exactly what the Switch 2 is and what games we could be playing on it very soon. But let me know down below if there's anything that you believe needs to be added to this list for Nintendo Switch 2 to not fail. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stop what you're doing. A lot of you watching this video are not yet subscribed, so make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on everything Nintendo. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See you guys.